6 minutes late. I think that's record timing, especially considering we just got on the call like 10 minutes
Yeah.
ago. Not maybe not even, you know.
No,
Uh,
yeah, I think
should be
it's
published
hard.
now. I think.
Okay, so let me hit this real here. Yep, we're live.
Perfect. Can you hear both of us?
That's a good question, eh?
It's kind of important.
Sorry.
I mean, is
Yeah,
it
we both have audio. We're good.
perfect? Okay.
We don't want to make that mistake again.
God. And both of us have audio.
Yeah, yeah, I heard both of us talk.
Okay, good. I'm just gonna post it to Facebook, and we're gonna be good to go. So first of all, while I'm doing this, how have you been?
Pretty good. Pretty good. I've been working a lot, not
Yeah.
necessarily playing as many video games as I would like, but
Yes.
we can get into that. Yeah, no, I'm doing pretty well though overall. I got no complaints. I got a job. I'm able to make ends meet. That's really
Is it
all that I ask for right now.
is it better than what it used to be?
My job?
Yeah, like as in like because I remember you were very busy before, like and just like you, like it was you were well. I mean, you still I guess work a ton of hours, but
Yeah. You mean versus my previous work?
no, just like at the very beginning, how it was when you first started this new job, you were having like a bit of a harder time, and now have you adapted to it a bit?
To a point. This week was a bit of a grind, because I was going through a lot of stuff again that I wasn't really familiar with.
Hmm.
But I'm going to continue to have those. So, but it's been better in general from that respect as of late. So
Okay.
I'm thankful for that. How
Yeah.
about you? How are you doing?
Really good. I can't complain
Yeah,
at all. No, the last month has been really good for me, so I'm very 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 happy.
excellent. That's
Yes.
what we
Yeah.
like to hear.
And not only just in my personal life, but like video game wise too. This has been an excellent month. I feel,
It's been
and we
wild.
we've talked about this before that this month feels like what should have been E3 essentially for this year. I feel.
Yeah, 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 totally. I mean, it feels like just so much has happened this month, even though technically speaking, we got like the reveals of like the systems
Hmm.
and a lot of their lineups earlier in the year. The fact that we actually got the release dates and the launches and the pre-orders and everything like that really kind of
We don't
changes things.
we don't have a confirmation of what games are coming out specifically on launch day for those systems yet, do we? Not especially not Xbox. I feel that PS5 we have Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man and Demon Souls are
The
both launch day.
Okay, yeah.
And I believe I think there's another one. I can't remember off the top of my head what it was. And then of course there's like the smattering of like all the third party stuff. Um, I know after Xbox announced their launch date, um, Assassin's Creed was moved up to be the same day. They moved it like a week to be the same day as the launch of the Series X.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it was Assassin's Creed. It was definitely Ubisoft. It was it was I'm pretty certain it was Assassin's Creed.
Is Watch Dogs coming into PS5 and
Uh,
Xbox?
yeah, I mean they Watch Dogs actually comes out like a week or 2 weeks I think ahead of the launch of the new systems.
That's perfect.
But my understanding is there is going to be a next gen patch available for those at launch, but I don't know that 100%. That's
What I'm curious about that is, are we going to actually get physical copies of these games that will be saying PS5 and Xbox Series? What are they going to do for the Xbox Series games? Called it just Xbox Series?
I think that what they've done is they have like a like Xbox Series and then they have like X and then a pipe and then an S and it tells you
Okay.
that it plays on both.
And
Like
I
yeah.
have I not seen one that also has Xbox One as well? That because some games will be able to
Yeah.
play on the One, the S, and the X.
Yeah, probably. I bet
Yeah.
they probably have branded it with Xbox One on there as well for those cases. Although, yeah, no, because they do smart delivery. So if you buy the Xbox, well, I guess it depends on if the publisher like joined into the smart delivery thing or not, but I
Yeah.
believe Ubisoft is doing that. So like
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed, for example, you might see all three of those written on the one game box.
That's gonna be weird. I kind of don't like that. Like, because
Yeah,
well, I guess if it has the next gen, that's where I would put, because like I like to categorize my games, right? And like, is it
yeah.
with this system or that system? And
I do
I
like,
go ahead.
sorry. I do like the idea that I can take the one disc, put it in the Xbox One or the Xbox Series, whichever version. Like I'm
X.
getting an X, but
Yeah.
um,
Oh, you're
I
getting
think
an X. You're actually getting the X. You're not going for the digital version.
no, I won't because
That makes me happy.
the X is more powerful, and I mean
Yeah.
I've got the 4K TV and stuff, so that stuff actually matters to me,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
so,
That's good.
yeah. The S on like honestly, I think the S is a fantastic deal, and
Yeah.
but it's not necessarily for me, at least not for my living room. Maybe down the line I would consider getting one for my bedroom or something like that.
Because then you just it would be easier to stream and do like Twitch and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, yeah.
that makes sense.
Not that I do that very often these days.
Well, you're a little bit busy with the other job, but at some point you'll probably get a little bit better, and then you could have. Do you think that there's ever going to be a point, totally unrelated to video games, but do you ever think there's going to be a point where you're comfortable with your new job that you could just work like a 40-hour work week?
Honestly, for the last month or so, it's been mostly that way.
Oh,
Um,
really?
this week, or maybe like a little bit more than 40, but
Yeah.
this week has been this week was like just not the best in that respect. I had a lot of stuff that I had to do. So yeah, I ended up working a decent amount more. But that's definitely not going to be like it's
The,
not going to be habit.
that's awesome. That's
So
really awesome.
yeah.
I like that's when you were working pretty much from when you'd wake up until you'd go to bed 7 days a week. That's kind of intense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got these consoles coming too, and I want to have some time to play them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm already
Exactly.
I don't want to all spend I don't want to burn all my free time playing video games as well, right? As much as I love them.
Yeah.
I want to be able to do other things too.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah.
That's good to hear. It's good to hear. So, what do you want to talk about? So there's the well, do you want to talk about anything about more about Xbox and PS5? Like because I feel that like yeah, it's good that we know the release dates, we know the pricing and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah,
there wasn't really any other big news, and I don't know enough about like the specs to really get into it. Other than
sure.
that, I think is the Xbox the most powerful one with the X.
It's kind of murky, but I would say on paper, the Series X is at least more powerful from like a processor and graphics card standpoint.
Okay.
But the thing is that they're going to be in the same ballpark. So I think even though the X is going to maybe be able to push, a little bit better graphics,
Yeah.
um, but probably maybe on like third party stuff or whatever. It's still going to come down to what the developers do with it for one, and B, I think they're both going to be in the same general sort of power frame where it's going to be you're going to be looking to get like 4K 60, and
Hmm.
that's probably going to be unanimous on like both platforms.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really or like whatever it is, they're going to be close enough that I don't think it's a huge issue either way. The PlayStation definitely has some advantages though. No two ways about it. Its storage, its I/O is ridiculously fast. Like bordering on the point of complete overkill.
Really?
At least in my mind anyways. I don't know I don't know enough to go like way in depth sort of saying, hey, I'm not going to be like, hey, I know more than Mark Cerny does or something like that, and I don't think they needed to do this. Like I don't have that high of an opinion of my own understanding of this.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't see the use case for like the top end of the speed that they've provided, but the fact that they've provided it is still not a bad thing either way.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and I'm very well could be proved wrong. So, I'm getting one either way. So,
Yeah. I'm so jealous. I still don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm gonna get both. I don't think I'm gonna get both on launch. I think I'm just gonna get. God, I don't know, man. It's
Yeah,
so
see,
it's so difficult because I'm really not playing enough games as it is. And the other thing too is that Nintendo for the most part is my focus at the moment.
mhm.
So I would like to play Spider-Man. I would like to play Spider-Man, but it seems more like it's a almost like a DLC. Is it a full game, the Miles Morales game, or is it
Okay,
more of
Miles
like an
Morales,
expansion that
you know, you know the what's it? What the hell is it called? Uncharted Lost Legacy, like the
yes,
shorter sort of spin-off-y
yes,
game. It's kind of like that.
mm-hmm.
So I think my understanding is I think it's going to be probably somewhere around like 8 or 10 hours.
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay,
and it's going to be kind of like a companion story to Spider-Man. It's not Spider-Man 2.
yeah, because they're still
Um,
working on that, and we'll probably get that in a year, probably two. I'd say maybe 2 years from now.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess hopefully not too long because I really want to see where they go with like the main Spider-Man
Yeah,
story with Peter Parker and stuff. Miles Morales is interesting and I like that they're doing the spin-off, but at the same time I still am more invested in the Peter Parker storyline.
Peter Parker is Spider-Man to me. It's the same thing with
Yeah.
like Batman. It's Bruce Wayne, Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
Dana Pride. Like it's all. I like the originals. That's who I grew up with, and but I do. I think that they handled Miles really well in that first game of introducing him.
Totally.
I think that was the best version of Miles that I've seen. I have not read any of the comics from Miles Morales, so I don't really have any idea from that. I didn't really like the movie that they had, like Into the Spider Verse. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
Everybody was raving about it, and I was like, it's okay. It didn't really do.
It's it's funny you and I have seemingly really similar thoughts actually on next gen, despite the fact that I've pre-ordered both of them, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. I've kind of been going into next gen with the same sort of thought. I don't play as many games as I used to
Yeah.
because I just don't have the time.
Yep.
When I do have time to play, I'm usually playing on my Switch.
Yeah.
But I
Yes.
think in my particular case, I think things went a little differently in my thought process, maybe versus where you are for two reasons. One, I do not have a PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
Um, like I did have a PlayStation 4 to be clear to anybody who's watching. I had one. I sold it, I don't know, probably like 5 months ago-ish, roughly,
Okay.
because I was getting ready for PS5 to come out.
Haven't you had two PS4s? Like you had one, sold it, got another one, sold it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I, yeah, well, because I got one early in the gen, and then I sold that one off to and then I didn't have one for a while,
Yeah.
and then I decided to buy a PS4 Pro when Spider-Man dropped.
Oh, you had a Pro for that.
Yeah,
Did you play anything else other than like I have so many games for PlayStation 4 and I've barely played the majority of them. Um
I've some of them.
okay. So you did play some stuff when you got the Pro for Spider-Man
Yeah,
after Spider-Man? Okay.
yeah,
I
yeah.
really need to play the Ratchet game, like the Ratchet and Clank. I've played it, but I need to beat that game because I really enjoyed myself with that game and I just never went
Yeah.
back to it.
I'm majorly looking forward to Rift Apart when that comes out as well. I mean, I just that Ratchet and Clank's big for me. I played all the PS3 ones as well. There
Okay.
was Tools of Destruction and
Yep.
Crack in Time, and then they had like the spin-off one that was like Quest for Booty,
Yeah.
and then there were a couple others too. There were some weird ones like All for One and Into the Nexus.
Yes.
They
Yes.
had actually the PS3 was great for Ratchet and Clank.
And they
Like
had
honestly.
I think they had like an HD collection of the PS2 games as well, didn't they? I think that they had some kind of
So
collection.
that definitely sounds familiar.
I'm gonna try to see if I can find
Um,
that.
yeah, so that's pretty crazy. Like it's just funny though that you and I we do tip it seemingly have very similar thoughts on next gen. The only and again the only reason that I'm buying, well, I shouldn't say the only reason, but a decent factor in why I decided to actually ultimately pre-order an Xbox One, I mean Xbox Series X,
Yep.
is because my nephew's Xbox died. So I'm going to buy the Xbox Series X and just give them my my Xbox One X.
You're a very nice person.
So I mean, I kind of wanted it anyways, so it's kind of a win-win for everybody this way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of the thought process. But I mean, realistically speaking, the game that's coming out this year, aside, I mean, I want to play Spider-Man, and I'm gonna replay Spider-Man 2018 because it comes in the version of Miles Morales that I opted to purchase, the Ultimate Edition.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm gonna play that through first, and then I'll play Miles Morales because it's like a full remastered copy of the PS4 Spider-Man. So I'm down for that.
I wonder how much of a difference there's actually going to be. Like, I know that it's more powerful, it's going to be a lot
Yeah.
faster and all that kind of stuff. It's going to look a little bit shinier, but especially a game like that where they do a remaster, but it's not made specifically for the PlayStation 5, right? Like it's
So I think what you're gonna see is it's gonna look better. It's gonna be sharper. It's gonna run at higher native resolution, I would expect for
hmm
one.
hmm
It's gonna have a lot better textures because they talked about redoing a lot of the textures for the game.
yeah.
All the load screens and fast travel are going to be like hugely faster than they were like actual fast travel. Um, and you're going to see further draw distances
That's
and
good.
more
Yeah.
people on the streets and things like that.
That's kind of cool. I can't wait to see what the next Grand Theft Auto looks like on next gen.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
going to be
The real trick, though, for them for Grand Theft Auto, for example, is if they opt to make it next gen only. And I
they
kind of wonder in the back of my head if they wouldn't.
no, they have to make it for next gen. Like they you can't go no. I that's
I mean,
because
you're
then they're
putting
gonna
out,
hinder themselves so much. I
yeah,
want
I know for sure.
it was their fault for not really. They had 7 years to release a Grand Theft Auto 6,
Yeah.
and they didn't. So too bad for the Xbox One and the PS4. And I don't, and I might not even have, I might not be getting an Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5 at launch, but that's because there's nothing that really wants me to push to get. Like, there's one game that I want that's going to be similar enough to Spider-Man PS4, which I loved. Um,
Yeah.
but it's not like the full sequel. It's I want to play it, but it's not enough for me to say that, like, oh, I need a PlayStation 5 day one. If I did get a
Yeah.
PlayStation 5 day one, I would probably get not Bloodborne,
Demon
Demon
Souls.
Souls as well, probably. But that's not even really my kind of game. But I would just get it because it's a launch game.
That's actually again, exactly what my thoughts have been. We need to disagree on a little bit more.
To have some
Um,
kind of
it's funny though because I
digital
had the exact same
digital.
thought process going.
We're,
Like I
we're,
was like, oh, I might pick up Demon Souls. It's not really for me. I'm not really a Souls game person, but I kind of want more than one game for my new system, right?
yeah,
So like,
yep.
which is funny. I have no games pre-ordered for my Series X yet, and whatever I do end up picking up will end up being multi-platform. Although that's not entirely true. I suppose I could pick up Gears Tactics. I haven't played that yet, and that's coming out at launch.
There you go. That would that game actually looks pretty good. That
And Microsoft Flight Simulator should be coming to Xbox pretty soon too.
that looks pretty good too. Honestly, like surprisingly, that looks really good. I
I'd be
remember
willing to bet that game wouldn't even run on last gen. I mean, if it
it's
did, it would run like shit.
yeah. I'm curious to see what we're going to be getting. The only thing too that kind of hinders me from also necessarily getting um, one of the next gen consoles is that because of everything that's going on with 2020, I feel that a lot of games are going to be delayed, unfortunately. So
Mm.
games that would have been meant for the Xbox Series X or the PlayStation 5 or even multi-platform for those two consoles are going to be
Yeah,
delayed. So we're going to have, it's all at the beginning. You buy a new console, and then you're usually always waiting quite a bit of time anyway. And now I think we're going to be waiting potentially even
yeah,
longer than that. And that just makes it like, well, why did I pay all this money? Like you do get though the hype of a new generation, and you get that day one, and it's a special moment. It only comes every few years. It is more special than Christmas, but it feels like you're a kid at Christmas again.
yeah. It's fun. It's fun to do, and I mean, like to get to pick it up and all those things. I know on the PlayStation side, the funny thing is I find it relatively easy for me to justify the early purchases, even though again I was definitely thinking about not doing them.
Yeah,
Because again, I do have like there is that Spider-Man day one and I'm again with the Ultimate Edition, I get the PS4 game and I get the PS5 Miles Morales game. I
yeah.
know Ratchet and Clank is a launch window title, so I will play that. whenever it comes out. I still think it's going to be early in 2021, like maybe January or something like that. But that's good enough for me.
Really? You think
Um,
it'll be that soon?
Launch window can't be that long,
It's true.
right?
Yeah, it's usually like 3 months or something like that, I think.
So, I mean, I think you get through Christmas and you release it kind of after that.
Yeah.
Demon Souls is there at launch if I want to get into something a little different. And then, I mean, if I don't, because I probably won't. I'll probably do like Spider-Man and Ratchet whenever that drops, and then I'll pick up my multiplats over on the Xbox side because I still really prefer. I'm gonna give the new PlayStation controller a real fair shake,
Yeah.
but um, I'm not convinced that I'm going to like it better than the the Xbox controller.
I'm gonna have to see how I feel about it too. Like I want to hold it in my hands, but it looks. I like the PlayStation 4 controller a lot more than the PlayStation 3 controller, and I also, the more that I play PlayStation 4 games, the more I start to actually appreciate it over the Xbox One controller, which didn't really. I didn't expect that to happen at all because Xbox for the longest time was my favorite until the Pro controller for the Switch. That
Oh,
now, that's you can't perfect that more other than maybe having the buttons instead of digital they could be analog. I think
yeah,
that's
that'd
the
be way
only
better.
that's the
Some of
only
the
place.
now. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. So, like, I don't know. On the Xbox side, like I said, I'm gonna pick up some multiplats, but honestly, the game I'm looking the most forward to this year is still a Switch game. So,
It, it,
like, the funny thing is, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna pick up my Xbox on November 10th,
yeah,
and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna pick up my PS4, I mean, my PS5 on November 12th, and then 8 days later, Age of Calamity is gonna come out, and I'm gonna put both of them down.
yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. That's probably for the next games that are coming out in the next few months. I think I only have two pre-orders right now. It's Age of Calamity and Cyberpunk, and I want to get into Cyberpunk, but it's not. I know everybody else is freaking out about it, and that's why
Yeah.
I really want to give it a try. But
The
it's
funny thing
not.
is, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The funny thing is, I see it actually being more up your alley than even mine, and I'm still thinking about getting it as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm really not a fan of first-person perspective games.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, you can't actually change it in
Mm-hmm.
Cyberpunk.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like if that was a third-person game, like I'd be all over it.
That's
Um,
why, and that's what kept you from Skyrim. But Skyrim, you can change it to third person.
yeah, unfortunately, you can't in Cyberpunk though, so that's kind of the
No.
downside.
No. So get Skyrim instead.
Yeah, I mean, who knows, right?
What
So,
what I was gonna recommend though is that what you should do for the PlayStation 5, once you beat Age of Calamity, and if you need another game to kind of hold you over, like you beat Spider-Man, you potentially tried Demon Souls and then got frustrated and threw it in the garbage. Um,
possible. I'll just trade it.
I figured that that's what you would do.
I don't have to
Um,
worry about it going in the garbage. It doesn't have a steelbook.
you like steelbooks though?
Steelbooks are okay. It's slip covers that I don't like.
Yeah, but I figured that because it's different that you wouldn't like the steelbook.
I don't really buy them, but
Mm,
actually that's not
okay.
true. I do have some steelbooks. I have the entire, but the thing is they don't bother me because it's like a whole set. Like I
Ah.
have episodes 1 through 6
Mhm.
of Star Wars in steelbooks. So they're the only ones I have actually, I think.
Um, my so what I was going to recommend is for you to get Final Fantasy VII the remake.
I do want to get a Final Fantasy 7 remake.
It's
Wow.
it's I know that it's not turn based, and I think that you would have preferred that. But man, they
Yeah,
nailed it so well. Like, have you played the original Final Fantasy VII though? Did you play at least maybe the first 5 or so hours of the game?
I played it on PS1, like the whole
Yeah,
thing. Yeah, I beat the game.
dude, you have to then because like I can't. I don't want to get into it, but
Yeah,
man, what they do
I
with that
know.
game.
I know when you were playing it, you were like really blown away by it, and you were talking. And I didn't have my PS4 at the time. I had literally, I think, just gotten rid of it relatively recently at the time.
Ugh, horrible timing.
And well, is what it is. I was like, you know what? I will be able to play these games on next gen, so I will sell while I know my PS4 is good value, put that
Yes,
money eventually towards, which I didn't actually technically put that money towards my PS5, but whatever.
but it was
Um,
extra money that you spent on other stuff that you would have had to use your other money forward.
Exactly.
So it comes out to the same thing.
Exactly. So it all works out in the
Yeah,
wash. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, that's part of my thing too, right? Like I picked up these systems, but there's PS4 games that I want to play that have come out or games that I have that I haven't had a chance to play. Like I have God of War and I haven't played it.
yeah. Me
And I
too.
want to. So like I feel like I pick up like a game or two on either system, sort of whatever. I mean, maybe I just get Spider-Man at launch, and I
Yeah,
have the other games to sort of sprinkle around it already.
yeah, yeah. You
So
do. Yeah, it's true, which is really nice. Andrew, who's a buddy of mine, asks, "What's the benefit of waiting to get next console? Though I don't assume the price drop will be for a long time." I also agree with that, very much so. But it's just, I could save up a little bit more and feel better financially to do it later on. That for me, that's the thing. Um,
if you had interest in Game Pass, then which you don't, and I
yeah,
know that.
yeah.
Um, but if you had interest in Game Pass, you could justify it through like the All Access program.
I think that another benefit for me is also seeing because I'm hung up on PlayStation 5 versus Xbox. I am leaning more towards the PlayStation 5 right now. But let's
Mhm.
say in a few months from now, there's no exclusives that are really catching my eye for PlayStation, and all of a sudden Xbox is like, here's one and here's another one, and then they start having a little bit more, and then they announce a bunch of other ones that are coming down the line, and then I'm like, I don't, because I really don't want to buy two of them. What I want to do is I want to buy one, and then when there's an eventual price drop for the other, that's when I'll pick it up. I want to wait for the price drop for the second one because I
Yeah.
know myself. I'm gonna need both consoles at some point in time, and I'll only play three on the one that's not my main. So let's try to save me a little bit of money instead of buying them both, and then they both collect dust because the Switch is gonna take over anyway.
I mean, I do get that too, because like when I bought my PS4, I think I bought my PS4 and I bought my Xbox like a week later. I got them both at launch, like my Xbox One,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't necessarily get a lot of use through like the first while because there wasn't a ton of games even at the launches of those either.
There
I mean,
was
yeah, I think
there was
well,
like, well, not at launch but launch window, for the Xbox, at the time, because it was an exclusive for it, a timed exclusive, was Plants vs Zombies, and that's what made me go get an Xbox One, was Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare. Like that's, and
we played a lot of them.
we really did, and I should have played Titanfall a little bit more too, because that was really fun too, and I didn't play the sequel, and I picked it up for $5. I literally picked up a new copy for $5, and I've had it for years now, and I love the first one. And the first one didn't have a single player. Second one does, and I still haven't played it. I don't understand myself.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree that the price drops for like these systems are a ways off. Like you probably wouldn't be getting the other system like at a reduced price. Unless you can find like a Black Friday sale or something next year or something, then maybe. But an actual price drop, I think is probably years down the road.
Yeah,
Um, so, and to a certain extent, that might be okay because I think Microsoft is going to have a good amount of exclusive content this generation. However, I don't think we're going to get it until probably late next year or even 2022. But then it's really going to start to roll, I think, after that. Um,
I feel that with Game Pass, and the all digital version of the Xbox,
yeah,
Microsoft is going to do pretty damn good. But the problem is that right now it might not do well until they really start having a bunch of first party games. Like once Bethesda starts rolling out their first party games and they put it on Game Pass,
yeah. So, did you want to talk about Bethesda now?
oh god.
Oh,
So
'cause that's gonna be the
okay,
elephant in the room. We can't not talk about that.
yes, and that to me is a complete definition of a double-edged sword. I love the idea. I wish Microsoft would have actually done it sooner, though. I wish, because Xbox One had nothing. Like it had Halo, Gears, Forza, which wasn't for me, And then they had a few games here and there that did interest me, but they weren't really like AAA games.
Yeah.
Um,
Xbox One generation was not great.
it was like honestly, it was horrible. It was that was Xbox's worst time.
Yeah, that was the low point.
Yeah,
I mean, Phil Spencer comes in, he takes over, but there's nothing in the pipeline. So like, what do you do, right?
yeah, he was kind of screwed from the beginning. But I like for the most part a lot of his moves. But then
Mhm.
it just upsets me at the same time. Like, but that's the like I'm gonna have to. So that guarantees that if Elder Scrolls 6 and even Starlink, if that game is only on Xbox, I have to have an Xbox. So that's another reason why I'm leaning towards PlayStation 5. But now with this Bethesda thing,
Yeah, I think so. That's like a whole big discussion in itself, right? Like whether these are going to be exclusive games or not, right? And there's
yeah,
been so many people talking about it like all over the internet, and everybody's kind of got their own take on it. And obviously nobody knows. But my gut feel is like you don't pay $7.5 billion to put your games on your rival's platform,
yes,
right? Maybe you do after a timed exclusivity period or something, but like day and date, I don't see it. And a lot of people are like, oh, there's like they got to recoup the money that they paid, and by cutting out the PlayStation audience, you're cutting out a lot of potential revenue, and I understand that, but like I feel like
you'll make more money
in
by
the long
having.
run,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
it was such a perfect move. Here's we just acquired Bethesda, and right after that, now you can pre-order the Xbox. Like,
yeah.
damn.
I
You,
think the mistake people make is thinking Microsoft needs to make back their money anytime in the near future,
and they don't.
right?
Look at
Like,
look at Disney when they acquired Star Wars. Look at Disney when they acquired Marvel. It was plans that they were eventually going to make their money back, and they did. They don't have to. They're not bleeding money where they're like, we're on the verge of bankruptcy and we need to make some money in 2021, guaranteed, or else we're gone.
yeah.
That's not Microsoft.
So I'll give you like a little bit of context here, like for I don't know if you read any of this or not, or how closely you've been watching,
Yep.
but in the last 5 months, Game Pass subscriptions have grown by 50%.
Mm-hmm.
So they've gone from 10 million to 15 million users. So 15 million users, like, even if you assume only half of them are Game Pass Ultimate subscribers, which is probably not the case, they're
Yep.
probably more skewed towards Ultimate than they are not. But let's even say that they're split half and half, right? Like regular Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate. So like 12.50 on average between the two American.
Yep.
Like over the course of a year, it's like over $2.5 billion of revenue.
Yeah.
So like, and that's just based on current subscriber levels.
Mm-hmm.
And Game Pass is growing as it is. They're adding more content. We haven't seen any of the benefits yet of EA being added into Game Pass or Bethesda being added into Game Pass. Like Game Pass is going to grow significantly, and they are going to make their money.
Okay. Skyrim Enhanced Edition from Xbox One goes to Game Pass. Are you gonna play it?
Skyrim? I will give it a try if I don't have to pay anything for it.
Thank God. I don't know why it's taken. Like you can play it third person. I have been trying to get you to play that game since 2011.
Okay, in fairness, I would play it, but I would be hoping that the version that they put onto Game Pass will still have mod support,
I,
because I would like to mod the game to add more color. I find Skyrim a very gray game, and that's part of the reason why I've never played it.
Once, but okay, and I agree with that because like when you play Breath of the Wild and you're just like boom, right?
Yeah,
But you eventually get used to it and it really just it doesn't bother you anymore. But you have to play it a certain amount of time because Gears is like that. And Gears, I felt that with Gears I still noticed it the entire time. With Skyrim, you get so immersed into the world that you
yeah,
forget about that. But I agree that you could probably add some more color into it too.
yeah,
Matthew Long said that Bethesda is going to be completely exclusive. I think they're going to have whatever agreements that they had beforehand
yeah.
with Sony, and after that, it's going to be. I could see them maybe helping out Nintendo though.
I see. The funny thing is, People have been pointing to like the fact that Microsoft's putting their games on other platforms as a reason why these like some people are like absolutely like 100% convinced that these games are coming to PlayStation because Microsoft has a bit of a history now of putting games elsewhere. But if you actually look at the games that have gone to other platforms, you're looking at Cuphead, you're
Yes.
looking at Ori 1 and 2, and you're looking at Minecraft and Minecraft Dungeons. Like beyond that, like none of the tent poles or anything big has gone anywhere. So Ori and Cuphead were publishing deals made by Microsoft. They don't own those.
Yeah.
Um, they don't own the studios behind them. They don't own the IPs. And then um, so that takes most of them out of the equation. Minecraft was already on every platform, so they weren't really going to remove that game. And it's a different thing because Minecraft is just Minecraft. It's not new installments in Minecraft, right?
Exactly. You're gonna make because everybody wants Minecraft on whatever system that they have, but it's not a system seller because everybody's played it before.
Yeah.
10,000. Own three I think I own two. Minecraft on Switch and Xbox One, and I have it on PC as well as a digital. So
Yeah.
you
I'm
know,
really looking forward to the Minecraft on Xbox Series X with the ray tracing and everything. It's going to be
yeah.
great.
And see, there's a lot that I hate this because I really wanted to go PlayStation this time around. I almost did it with PlayStation 4, and then I didn't. And now, fucking
I mean, you're going
Microsoft.
to end up with both. So it's really just a matter of which one you feel you get the most value out of early.
So that's why I think that for me, that's why I have to wait. I have to wait until we start seeing because we're not going to see anything from Bethesda for a while that's going to be Xbox exclusive. I don't think next
No,
year.
I don't.
Like next
I
year,
think.
I don't even think we're going to get anything specifically from Bethesda that's exclusive. I don't think.
I mean, I doubt it unless they've got something that they haven't announced
Yeah.
that they could switch to a platform exclusive. I mean, I still feel like pretty much anything that's been in development, I kind of like down the same thought that you had before. Anything that's been in development for a while, that's close to release or that we know about or has an existing deal, those things are going to be honored and it'll be the stuff after that. I believe Starfield
Is it
was
Starfield? I keep
never.
calling it Starlink. It's Star. Oh
Starlink.
my God, that's the crap. Not crappy, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
man,
I think it was Switch.
it is Starfield. Well, it's on all three consoles, but I have it on Switch because you can play as Star Fox.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
It's yeah.
Um, I think the thing with what was I saying? Doesn't matter.
Uh,
Oh yeah, Starfield, I think, is maybe the first one because it's a brand new franchise, and I don't think platforms had been announced for it beyond the fact that they were making the game. I don't know that they'd ever stated what it was coming to. I could be wrong on that.
yeah.
But I feel like that's a prime candidate to just become an Xbox franchise, like right from the get-go.
That alone, I think, will be selling a lot. It's crazy. Bethesda has so many IPs that I think it finally PlayStation had for the longest time, other than Nintendo, the crazy amount of IPs, and now with Bethesda on Xbox's side, I feel like they might potentially have more at this point, just with Bethesda.
It's insane. Like Microsoft, I mean, they actually have a lot of stuff that they can draw from now overall. Like you look into what they've been doing, and since 2018, so in the last like 2 years, they've increased their studio count from 7 to 23.
That's and now
And
and Bethesda too now, which
yeah,
so they're just going to be like, hopefully, this is what they've been having to do for a long time. And I want to get to this question too here.
yeah.
So Matthew asks, did you hear that Xbox is doing good in Japan? I had no idea about that. I figured that they were still doing horribly. Um, and I want your take on it. I, I wonder if in Japan it's doing well because of Game Pass, because Japan doesn't like a lot of space with stuff, right? That's why they like smaller consoles and all that kind of stuff. And I wonder if, but Japan also seems to be very physical media oriented. I think I could be wrong on that, but I know that they very much care about space in their
Yeah.
homes. So
So,
I wonder if
so
Game Pass has anything to do with it. And then we'll get to the rest of it. Yeah, let's talk about that, and then we'll get to the rest of it.
I think Game Pass does have to do with it, but even like further beyond it just being Game Pass, I think xCloud has something to do with it.
You think that's the
Um,
reason why? Okay.
Japanese market is big into mobile. So
Yeah.
if they can
Yeah.
play console level games on their phones or whatever through Game Pass, which you can,
Yeah.
that's a good reason to get into that ecosystem.
Hmm.
And again, they're definitely so I read about the whole Xbox doing well in Japan thing. I think there could be a couple things at play here. There either they actually had a good number of pre-orders and they sold them out, which they did. I mean, the pre-orders sold out, we know that. And like in record time, like
For
for that
Japan?
in Japan. That said, though, the pre-orders, we don't know what the numbers were. So the question is, what were the allotments?
And because Microsoft has done such a bad job for so long, they might have just limited it and been like, well, there's no point in giving them a ton because they're not going to really. And then it also looks better on them to say we sold out over there. We only had 1,000 units, but hey, we sold out. It's not going to be
Yeah.
that.
So, I mean, I don't know how big the sales were, but the fact of the matter is they did sell them out.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's a positive and it's like it's good word of mouth. But I do feel like xCloud could be actually a big factor in some of these other locations like Japan where they're not strong. Or you can't even call it not strong. They're practically non-existent.
I think though they also had that one like one of the first things that we saw for Xbox for whatever reason they went with the third party games, but they went with that one like JRPG action game, the action JRPG game where they're fighting plants and stuff. Do you remember that?
This is
It's
recent.
well, no, it was like the first thing that we ever saw for the Xbox Series X. They showed like
Mm.
a bunch of third party games, and one of them was some
Oh,
kind of like action JRPG.
yeah, I know the game you're talking about.
I
It
remember its
was
name, but I
Scarlet,
wonder if that had anything to do with it. Although I think that maybe that one is also coming to PlayStation 5, but they showed it with the
Scarlet
Xbox.
Nexus.
What?
Scarlet Nexus?
Yes, I think that's what it is. Yeah, yeah.
That game looks odd.
It does. I still want to try it out because I mean I like that kind of stuff. Galgun Remake is only coming to Xbox, Switch, PC, and PS4. Who's getting laid out? Didn't know about that. That's odd that they would leave the PlayStation 4 out. Is Galgun? Who owns Galgun?
I'm actually not really familiar with the franchise.
Okay.
Uh,
And do you think the rumor about Sega might be true? Because I'm thinking, why is Xbox booming in Japan?
so I mean, I don't know. I don't, like the rumors were based on some pretty spotty. I can't even call it sources. It was basically there wasn't much behind it.
Yeah.
So. I mean, who knows? Like, they've been chummy for a while. I think the more likely scenario, if there is something brewing between Sega and Microsoft, is like some sort of deal where Sega games are going to come into Game Pass or something like that. I don't think it makes sense to buy Sega, if I'm being honest, because Sega's got so many other businesses that they're involved in, like their arcade business and stuff, and I don't know why Microsoft would want to buy the overhead of that.
Sonic.
I mean, I guess, but you
Sonic
probably.
Sonic Shuffle, which is their Mario Party version that they had on Dreamcast.
I mean, I think having Sonic be tied to the like synonymous with their platform would be a good thing, obviously. I mean, if the games get better. Um,
Hey,
but
Sonic Generations happened, and that was a good one. Is that all that they've had in the last little while that was good? Sonic the
I don't know.
Hedgehog video games.
Honestly, I haven't really watched that closely in a while, but I still know a lot of people love Sonic.
I mean,
But
they had the Sonic what was it called? Like they had like the Sonic where they had like it was like a remake of 1, 2, and 3, I think, in a package. Um, and then and Sonic Mania, I think.
Sonic Mania sounds familiar, yeah.
And then they
That was
also
on.
had Sonic 4 as well. So, and with the movie coming out and it doing well, not bad, and especially because it was still kind of going, and they were expecting it to go somewhere afterwards, I think, and but because of everything that's going on, they had to they couldn't open up somewhere else that they could have done a little bit more money as well.
Yeah,
So
totally. Um, yeah, Sega does own Atlas. I'm just seeing that over in the comment there. So I mean that would be kind of cool, I guess. But I mean, I still think you can do all of the stuff, all the benefits that you would get from buying Sega. I think you can negotiate through some sort of a contract or something with them instead. I just feel like that in a lot of ways that makes more sense because Sega would not be a cheap buy. Like despite the fact that like they would cost more than Bethesda by a significant margin.
Which is weird, eh? Because like, what does Sega do now that's worthwhile?
I tell you, man, like they have other business other than the video game business that they make a ton of money on. Like Sega Sammy Corporation is massive.
But I wonder if I wonder then if Xbox could just go buy the video game portion.
Maybe they could strike a deal to buy just the video game side of things. I don't know.
Because then
I suppose that's
it,
possible.
it would give the Sega company a crap ton of money to do other things that they're already very successful in. Because let's face it, they're not doing that well in the video game industry anymore. They really aren't. Because Bethesda completely destroys them right now.
Oh yeah, totally. Their market cap is actually significantly lower than I thought it was, but strange. I still think they wouldn't cost any less than Bethesda, just even based just purely on name.
How much was Bethesda? How much billion? How many billions?
7.5.
7.5 billion.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they would. I know Warner Brothers Interactive was asking for like $4 billion as well, right? So
All Xbox needs to do is release Skyrim on Xbox Series X, and they'll get their money back.
yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean, the funny thing is, I looked up like how many copies of Skyrim have sold. It's like 30 million copies of Skyrim that have been sold.
That makes me
Um,
so happy.
which is like across like a variety of platforms, probably at a variety of price points, whatever. So I mean, you can't just multiply it by like 60 and be like, hey, this is how much money Skyrim's made or whatever. But I mean, I think it's reasonable to assume Skyrim was huge. The next Elder Scrolls, based on how many people bought Skyrim, could be even bigger.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, you're gonna put it into Game Pass, probably like so. A lot of people are not going to buy the game for that reason, but
Yeah.
you're still gonna get 60, $70 from people who buy it who are not in Game Pass on the Xbox. You're gonna get it from all your PC sales,
Yeah.
not like through like anybody through Steam or whatever, because
Hmm.
Microsoft will continue to sell their games on Steam and stuff like as well.
Yeah.
Um, so like I don't know. Like I feel like yeah, cutting out the PlayStation from that obviously hurts a little bit because that would probably be a pretty large install base. But again, I think the upside of being like, hey, this is exclusive to Game Pass or Xbox or PC, like the Microsoft ecosystem. I think the upside of pulling somebody into that and getting them to continue to buy things there or to continue to sub to Game Pass, it well exceeds. You probably end up making more. Like how much is a publisher cut on a PS4 game, anyways? Right? Like,
Yeah. I don't know.
is it all,
Yeah. You're not going to get like that much more. So, oh man, I think Elder Scrolls. Here's the other thing too. That right now, for the longest time, the only three major properties that Xbox have had is Halo, Gears, Forza. Forza does very well for the audience that it has,
yeah,
but
it's a
that's not,
premier racing game for sure.
but not a lot of people are like racers are really not what you're going to be where you're going to be making your money or people saying
Yeah,
I'm going to get your console because Forza is on there or Gran Turismo. Like
totally.
I don't think that. Then you have Halo and Gears, and those are shooters that you already kind of have your core audience for that has been faithful and continuing to buy those consoles to keep playing those, but it's also not a system seller. Now with with Bethesda, specifically Elder Scrolls and Fallout, those two specifically right there, you're gonna get so many people that have loved these and played it on whatever console before and be like, I really like a lot of the things that Bethesda does. I love Fallout or I love Elder Scrolls. I need the Xbox, and and they could have been a PlayStation or a Nintendo fan, most likely a PlayStation fan the entire time, and now they need to go Xbox just for those two specifically. It's two games that appeal to a much bigger audience than Halo, Gears, and Forza does.
Yeah, and the reality is too, people are going to throw out they're like, there's definitely going to be a contingent of people who are like, oh, well, I can just get them on PC. I don't need an Xbox to play them. Fact of the matter is, you can totally do that, and Microsoft probably doesn't care.
Yep.
Like, as long as you're playing the game, if you're buying into Game Pass to play it, or you're buying it full price or whatever you're paying for it on Steam, they're still making their money. Like,
Yep.
um, whether you actually buy an Xbox is really immaterial. Um, that's why I was talking about this not that long ago, but it seems like the way that we sort of judge success in the console industry is really getting thrown out the window because while the PlayStation 4 was undoubtedly the dominant platform of the generation, I will not say any differently. I think going forward, especially,
Switch though, Switch with 3 years
true,
has been incredibly impressive.
it's actually pacing to outsell, I believe, the PS4 in the same time frames,
Ex-
or it has been outselling the PS4 in the same time frames.
which is insane.
Yeah.
Good
So,
job,
but
Nintendo.
yeah, it's crazy. But I mean, ultimately, Microsoft, I mean, the real Microsoft product at this point has to be Game Pass, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
let's
at the moment, but Bethesda down the line, that to me is going to be the selling point. Not necessarily game. I think it would be a combination of those two.
because I think the Bethesda purchase is specifically to add value to Game Pass. Like that's what they're doing. They're just adding value to Game Pass on top. Like they want to become like the Netflix of games,
And if they have
right?
15 million people already, that's insane. How many people own an Xbox One? I looked at that. Like
No
not
concrete
much.
numbers. I think it's around 50 million.
I think that's what it is too, something like that. Like
But they don't get
close to 50. Close to 50 is according to VG charts, and I don't know how much I follow that, but 48.3 according to the last time that they looked was Xbox One, and Switch is at 64 million, almost 65, and then PS4 at 113, which is just insane. But
yeah.
like Nintendo. I feel that Nintendo has such a big chance of, with Breath of the Wild 2 coming out potentially next year, and I want to get into this as well, is the Mario 35th anniversary, and obviously then Zelda 35th anniversary. But if Nintendo can have a good amount of games coming out for Zelda next year for the 35th anniversary of them, and then I think there's a few other big anniversaries next year for not as many years, but some of their bigger properties. I think Metroid is one of them.
Metroid's celebrating an anniversary next year too, yeah.
Is it Donkey Kong or Pokemon that has a one as well next year?
I don't
I think
know.
I think Pokemon has their 25th anniversary next year. Pokemon is insanely massive, and if they have like a big thing for their quarter of a century
Yeah,
anniversary with Zelda, we could have some amazing things. Like if they announce 2 games next year for Pokemon, one of them being like a remake of something,
yeah,
um, and then maybe, honestly, you know what I would love for Pokemon is for them to release an anniversary collection like they have for Zelda before. With they had the Master Sword, the I think it was Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and Wind Waker on the GameCube, or they also had like one where it was Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and I think Zelda 1 and 2 from the NES that was on GameCube as some kind of weird collection that they had at one point.
yeah.
If they've never done that for Pokemon, imagine if we had like blue and red version and gold and silver on a cartridge and we could play that, because we can't play it on the Switch right now.
It's
Can we?
true.
I don't think that they have those. Is blue and red on the Switch right now? I don't think it is.
Probably the wrong person to ask, but I don't believe so.
Okay. Pokemon.
I mean, I know there's been a lot of people that have been thinking that like another Pokemon Let's Go game is inevitable. Like, I keep hearing people say Let's Go Johto, which doesn't really mean anything to me. Um, I think it's the name of a place, not a Pokemon, but I think it's like one of the regions or something like that.
Yes. Yeah. So
Um, so I mean, that's possible.
I think that like a collection like that of all of maybe the first 3 big Pokemon games on a cartridge, even if it's a limited time, which I hate that Nintendo does that, but I think that would just be massive, and it would get so many people to be like, oh my god, I can play these original games in handheld on the Switch, but it's going to look so much better because it's so much bigger and it's a nicer screen, and
Yeah.
it's and that's where Pokemon thrives, right? Is the handheld market. We always wanted to have the option of playing it on the big screen, but then with the Switch, you nailed it because then we got what we wanted, but we can also still play it on the go, which is genius, absolutely genius.
Yeah.
I love what Nintendo has done, but so I'm really curious to see what they're going to do for those other anniversaries. But let's let's move into the last portion of the stream here and talk about what we could potentially see from Zelda 35th anniversary and what you thought of for the Mario 35th anniversary.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So Mario 35th anniversary, I don't have a lot of thoughts on like the smaller games
Okay.
necessarily,
Yep.
but like the 3D All-Stars collection, I have some thoughts for sure. Have you played it at all yet?
I played 64, and
Okay.
I the camera is not the greatest.
Okay, yeah.
The controls are take a little bit of getting used to.
Yeah.
And at the beginning when I was first playing, I was like, "Oh no, is my like, is the magic leaving from 64?" But then I started playing it a little bit more, and I'm very happy. I'm still very happy. Yes, the camera sucks the most. The controls aren't too bad, but because I want to be doing moves that I could do in like Odyssey or Galaxy or things like that.
Yeah.
But I'm still very happy. And man, I've seen some videos for Super Mario Sunshine because I've never played that game, and
Yeah.
it looks incredibly fun. I am so excited to play Sunshine for the first time.
It's a great game. I love Sunshine. Sunshine actually is one of my favorites. Which surprisingly seems to be a controversial opinion on the internet, but it's
Yeah,
definitely too. Some people are like really really big on about Sunshine, and then other people are just like it's garbage. Or as far as Mario games go, it's like the worst one, and I'm just like I don't see it that way. Like I mean, even though something has to be the worst one, and they're all really good, and I mean most people will usually say that
3D World. 3D World's the worst. If we're
probably.
going for the 3D games, but at the same time, I'm so excited for 3D World coming out next year with online multiplayer. That alone makes 3D World like
That's true. I actually forgot about that. So that was part of the 35th anniversary thing too. Like I'm getting that for sure.
yeah.
And then I'm gonna have to rope you into actually having some time to play.
We both have to, and
Yeah.
Jason could play it too.
Yep.
So like this is oh man, I'm so excited for that. I'm so freaking excited for that.
Yeah.
Just want to go back into the chat for a second. What do we think of basically Super Mario Galaxy 2 going to be on potentially DLC for the 35th anniversary or the 3D All Stars? I hope that's true because it's so. Right now, we have all the 3D games for Super Mario on the Switch except for Galaxy 2. And Galaxy 2 is not like a mediocre game or something.
I have a different theory on like why it's not there. Like I don't think like my personal thought is that it's not coming as DLC. I think they're going to like actually re-release that game.
Like, do you think it's going to be like just an HD? So is it exactly what we got with Galaxy 1 but by itself? Or do you think it's going to be an actual remake or
I
remaster?
I think it's Galaxy 2 Deluxe, basically. I think it's gonna like I think personally that it's gonna be like Galaxy 2 with some added content.
If they
And
added
they'll
extra levels in there.
that's what I expect, to be perfectly honest, because I don't see I don't know, I don't like it's not like they did a lot of stuff to really do like they didn't really improve the games much, to be honest, like in the pack here. Like Mario 64 is essentially just Mario 64. It's got some porting done on it for like the text, like it looks sharper, the text is clearer. It's got the button prompts that are correct for the Switch, but it's still in 4:3 aspect ratio. They didn't improve any of that stuff. Like I don't think the frame rate's necessarily running any super like higher. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I mean, it doesn't appear to me like they put like a ton of work into putting these three games together. So I feel like I don't know, maybe DLC makes sense because they can still get more money off you that way, and it's a way to add it in. But
That's
I
that's
still full
it's
re-release is more likely.
it's a limited time though. So to me, like,
Yeah,
unless that they're gonna if the 3D All Stars package, whether it be physical or digital, is that if that's what's going to be limited, and what then we could do is that we could once after March 31st, what we could do is you could buy Super Mario 64 as a standalone, Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Sunshine as standalones. Then that would make sense for Galaxy 2 to kind of be there on its own as well. But I feel now. Do you think that they're going to charge 60, like a full $60 American? I don't think a lot of people are going to like that because so many people were upset just with these three games, which I think these three games, and you're paying essentially a $20 American for each of them. I have no
yeah,
problem with that.
yeah. I didn't have any issue with it either. And I just, I don't know. I think Nintendo is very protective of their games in terms of like valuation and things like that. Like they don't. I think that's part of the reason why the 3D Mario, like 3D All-Stars collection is not going to exist for very long. Is because they don't want to lower the value of the individual games,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
yeah.
So which is part of the reason why I think a re-release of Galaxy 2 with updates as a deluxe version at full price makes more sense.
I would buy that day one. Like to me it doesn't matter because to me it's worth it, right? And it's not like I bought Galaxy 2 a ton of times. I bought it once. That's it.
Yeah.
And so I would totally be fine with buying it a second time. And I've done it with numerous games. I have 3 copies of Stardew Valley, and I'm getting another one in November.
Yeah.
So, and I've spent way more money into that game because it's something I love. Same thing with Skyrim. I have 3 versions of it. I want it on Switch as well, so that's gonna be 4. I still don't
Yeah.
think I have a PC. No, I don't have a PC version of it, so that's fine. Like I have no problem double dipping sometimes into a specific game that I just absolutely love and Super Mario, especially the Galaxy series. I have no problem doing that at all. And the thing is too, if you don't want it, just don't buy it.
Totally. I think it's virtually impossible that Nintendo will opt to not put Super Mario Galaxy 2 onto the Switch in some form.
Because they're missing one game to complete that entire thing. How could you not? For Super Mario, it's the main mascot of I was gonna say Zelda. It's the main mascot of Nintendo because Zelda's number 2 by far, and I prefer Zelda. But Mario, like, geez. Okay, back in the chat too. Do you plan on playing Witcher 3 on the Series X, PS5, when yes, do you plan on playing day one? If I have a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X, and they re-release The Witcher 3 on it, I will buy that day one and I will play it.
I don't know about physical, but they are like if you put in a copy of The Witcher, like CD Projekt Red is supporting smart delivery, so you're gonna get the best version of it just based on the fact you already have the game.
I'm gonna say that that's a cop out for me not to play it day one because it's not a physical release on the Xbox or PlayStation 5. So,
But I mean, do you already have The Witcher 3?
yeah.
So really, for Xbox One?
Yep.
Okay, so literally just putting the disc in gets you the best version of the game.
And
So
so
it's a physical, but it's kind of,
it,
sort of not.
it's not because it's not. It doesn't say Xbox Series X on the physical copy. So to me, that's not. But if when I finally play The Witcher 3, which I have no idea when that's going to be, I assume I'll be retired by this point.
Mm.
I think that that's not the right answer. He says. I would play it that way definitely because I mean that's the way. Another question, a quick question I had is, do you know how much in Canada the sellback is for Xbox One X?
It's $235 trade-in at EB.
And how much is it for an Xbox Series X?
$599. It's actually not that bad, really.
It isn't. So I'd have to pay like $370 plus tax.
That said, that's the current. So if you wanted to trade your Xbox One X towards like a pre-order or whatever. It doesn't have to be towards a pre-order, but if you want to trade it in and turn it into um, trade credit, that's what it will be for the next little bit. I don't know how long you'd have to phone and find out.
Yeah, because that's kind of scary. Because I wouldn't want to miss out on potentially. Because I that's the thing is that normally I always keep these systems, but if I can
Just
play everything,
like Microsoft is really committed to backwards compatibility. There's nothing your Xbox One X is going to be able to do that your Series X
so
won't be
the
able
only
to.
thing I'd be missing out is not having an Xbox X or Xbox One X for the next 2 months, and I'm not really well. I'm using it for like other stuff as opposed to games. I still haven't played Marvel's Avengers, and other than the beta,
Yeah,
I really got to get into that.
it's barely a month and a half.
Yeah, so it's not too bad. But then when does Cyberpunk come out?
Cyberpunk comes out same day. No, comes out a week after.
Week after? See, that's perfect. So because then I could have it for that, and that's kind of sweet. Shit, man, things are getting tempting. I have so many omnibus pre-ordered though that's kind of like messing me up at the same time.
Cancel them.
I could, I
No,
could, or I could cancel a few of them. I don't know. It's just that there's so I ah I
it is nice
hate
though.
this.
The trade-in value is even after taxes, the trade-in value is basically a third of the cost of the new system, which is pretty solid.
Yeah, yeah.
So
How long do you feel that Sony told everyone that you could only play PS5 exclusives, and then they did bait and switch, and now they're coming to PS4?
yeah, um, I mean, they technically never said they weren't coming to PS5. I mean PS4. They just were shady about it. Yeah, so like it's not a good look,
No,
especially after they were kind of giving it to Microsoft a little bit about the fact that they were doing cross-gen.
I yeah. That exactly that's the thing that makes it the like you're gonna.
Yeah,
That's
it's a bad look.
it
Actually,
is.
they put a bunch of information out after that last presser, that the last showcase they did that was just bad news, and um, I guess they were just hoping nobody would see it.
Okay, because I've only got maybe 15 minutes left.
Yeah,
Thoughts on Zelda 35? What do you want? What do you expect? And then what do you want if you were in charge of Nintendo and could literally do everything? I'm so curious to see that answer because I feel like everything.
and no, pretty much that is the answer. Like if I had carte blanche at Nintendo to pull the strings and make the decisions, one Breath of the Wild 2 is not falling out of 2021. No, no way, no chance. And I don't think that's going to happen anyways. I think like
I
that game
agree.
is next year for sure.
I feel that we even have a chance of seeing that for March to kind of go in celebration of the 4-year anniversary of it being on the Switch.
I have a feeling that based on everything that we've heard too, I agree with that. I think yeah, they could launch that March 3rd or whatever, something close to it. It might not
Yep.
line up data wise, but
Oops.
and I think there's a decent enough chance that there might actually be a Switch revision there with it day one.
I agree too, and that would be exactly how you get people to be excited. And honestly, I would trade that in because the Switch is by far my favorite console right now, this generation, but also just like potentially of ever. I just enjoy the hell out of it. And that would go so well. Now, okay, so now I assume you would want every game that's ever been released on Zelda on the Switch.
Yeah, but my focus right now is the 3D games.
Yes, I agree.
Um,
Although
so
A Link to the Past, I want something from A Link to the Past because I've never played it, and that
yeah,
game looks freaking awesome. How did I beat Link's Awakening before? Well, because of the remake or remap. Yeah, that was a remake.
I like the idea, hopefully, that they will eventually do a remake. Maybe not in the same graphical style as Link's Awakening, because that like Link's to the Past is a much darker game,
Yes,
so
100%.
so it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
But I think Link to the Past is a prime candidate for a remake
Hmm.
in that same sort of idea.
Yep.
But in terms of like collections, for example, what I want is one of either two things. either one, and I think one of these is a lot more likely than the other, but um, one would be Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, and Wind Waker HD copies, like
as a
all
collection.
together on like a
With
single.
I don't see Skyward Sword being on there.
And that's not good. That's the one I believe is not going to happen. I think what's more likely, actually, and I realize this is actually more games. So again, this will be another instance of this is going to be available for a time, and then it'll be gone.
Yep.
But I think the more likely scenario is Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, and Wind Waker all together,
Yep.
4 games.
Mm-hmm.
Skyward Sword comes out as a full price re-release on its own after, like an HD Skyward Sword.
Yep.
And I'm totally cool with that. I mean, I think there's a chance that they actually won't put Majora's Mask in whatever they do, which I think is a real damn shame if that happens.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but I think it's entirely possible that they'll just go Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, and Wind Waker, kind of like 3 generations again.
Yeah, and I could see that too, and it'd be very easy to do that because then they would just take the two ports that they have from the Wii U for the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Easy, it's already done for you, and then they just take
Yeah.
the 64 version of Ocarina of Time. Now, if they added Majora's Mask, I'd be even happier, and I think that that's what we're gonna get. But what I would love if I was in charge is a few things, and I think that you would love this as well. So
Yeah.
we have one as a four pack collection: Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, just the 64 ports, essentially what they did with Super Mario 64. Then we get the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD along with this pack, so it's a 4 pack right there.
Nice.
Skyward Sword by itself, fine, because
Yeah.
it's it's the first time that they're re-releasing it on something other than the Wii. And then we get Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask 3DS as a dual pack
Yeah.
because that's already in like it looks a lot nicer and it looks a lot smoother and it looks beautiful, right? But we're gonna get it in full HD, and then Ocarina of Time remake in Breath of the Wild sense,
Treatment.
but like Breath of the, yeah. So
Yeah.
and can you imagine how fucking amazing that would be?
That would be great. You know what I would love to if they made a full, like, from the ground up remake? Or I'm not sure exactly how it would work, but I would love Nintendo to do something with the Minish Cap. That game is criminally underrated.
Yes, and okay, so in my video, so many people like the only things that I heard of that were different from what I suggested was Minish Cap showed up the most, and that's a game that I haven't played, but I've wanted to play that for such a long time. And then Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons, which I don't necessarily want as much, but
Mhm.
I think would be cool too. But I think the Minish Cap because it was on the Game Boy Advance, it's a lot more accessible than Oracle of Ages and Seasons would be.
Yeah,
Because I didn't grow up with Oracle of Ages and Seasons. I remember seeing commercials for it and all that kind of stuff, and I was freaking out at the time. But I never actually bought those games because the 2D Zeldas intimidated the hell out of me back then.
actually, hell, just give me a 2D remake of Minish Cap on the Switch.
Yeah, just make it so that it's HD. Like literally, just do like Super Mario 64 is HD kind of because it can run on HD, but it's not like if you get it on the virtual console and you play it on the Wii U, it's not HD.
Yeah.
What we're playing on the Switch is HD. It's just it essentially looks exactly the same. It's just that it's actually HD.
Yeah,
Just
I
not.
mean, it looks sharper and all that, but I mean, the fact that they didn't actually make it widescreen, I think, was a nostalgia or a classic sort of choice, because there's no reason that couldn't have been widescreen to
I
fit the Switch.
I feel like, and I don't know which games actually took advantage of it if they did, and I hope I'm not just inventing this, but I'm pretty sure the N64 had a widescreen option, and I feel that Super Mario 64 might have had that option, or is it maybe Zelda Ocarina of Time? There's one of the games that actually takes advantage of the N64 console itself going widescreen, because unless I'm just completely dreaming this, and now I'm freak. Okay,
I actually don't know.
does N64 have a widescreen option? The end of '99 saw another widescreen game released on N64 with Donkey Kong 64 from Rare. Unlike GoldenEye, which had a myriad of video options, Donkey Kong only featured anthropomorphic.
Majora's Mask remake would definitely be fun too.
So,
Ocarina of Time has the recognition though, so it's more likely.
which games?
Yeah, it's Majora's Mask.
So, which games could you play in widescreen? I knew it had a widescreen, so that's freaking awesome. Donkey Kong 64, was that the only one?
The fact that they didn't actually make Super Mario 64, I like widescreen in the new collection kind of irks me a little bit because emulators are doing it and have been doing it for a long, long time.
It would have been so easy for them, and it would have just made everybody. And you get what they should have done is had the option.
Yeah. To be fair, I knew that when I purchased it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, me too. Me too.
And I didn't know that the camera noise was going to annoy the crap out of me like it does though, because it literally does that noise every time you adjust it.
Yeah.
And modern games have sort of conditioned us to be constantly fiddling with the right stick to adjust the camera.
Yes.
It's a hard habit to break, and I haven't actually managed to do it.
And it doesn't let you sometimes. You go into an area and it's like, well, you're not really supposed to be looking back in that area. But I was like, I want to see where the hell I'm going because I'm going back. I'm backtracking here. It's weird how that works. I'm assuming Sunshine kind of fixes that because I've never played Sunshine, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so I should be good because they had the little C stick at least that you could kind of use for that.
Yeah, I mean it should be better, in theory. So.
A Majora's Mask remake too. I think you have to start with Ocarina of Time because that is the godsend of Zelda, essentially, other than Breath of the Wild. Like everybody loves Ocarina of Time. And then once you've done the remake for Ocarina of Time, then a few years later you could do Majora's Mask in that same vein. And then you
much in the same way a lot of people associate Final Fantasy VII with RPGs, like Ocarina of Time was like the genre defining game that sort of kicked off the slew of all the Zelda, like all the 3D Zeldas and how they were going to work. So I think, yeah, I agree with you. It makes sense to start with Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
Even though I would absolutely love a Majora's Mask remake as well. That would be fantastic.
And I'd be so afraid of it, but I would try it.
You gotta play Majora's Mask through. It's so good.
I've played a little bit of it on 64 when it first came out. So
Yeah.
silverkyle, and I'm assuming its brother was favorite Nintendo. Oh, Kevin, as much as he is essentially my twin, and we actually do somewhat look alike. We have the beards. We've got, like we have very similar features. We're both slim. Like there's enough there that you could, and especially the way that we talk though, because we are in agreement with everything. He's not my brother. I just met him through this channel, and we've been like close like this since.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how that happened, honestly. I used to watch like your live streams like long time ago when it was just you and you'd be like in your basement by your pool table, and not most of the time, and your brother was sometimes there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then our third brother from another mother would be Jason, Big Red Engineer, who's working at the time or was working at the time, and so he couldn't join us. But we're gonna have to. Have we had all three of us together in a live stream yet this year?
No, it's been a while. Jason, we were talking about this the other day, actually, Jason and I.
So we keep missing every time that we have a live stream. I'm missing one of you.
And forth. We both haven't been available at the same time. So we're gonna have to arrange that for sure, though.
We will have to fix that. Okay, so what's our both favorite IPs from Nintendo? Let's go with our top three because we all know for you and me it's gonna be I'm curious to see if it's going to be the same for our number 2 and 3.
Okay, so
let's go with top 5. We got 5 minutes to go through our top 5 favorite IPs from Nintendo.
We'll have to talk about Age of Calamity another time because that whole discussion.
That needs more than 5 minutes, I feel. What?
Did you watch the gameplay I posted in Discord?
Not yet. So so it's almost better that we could do a separate thing with Jason. So all three of us. So maybe next week or 2 weeks from now.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We definitely should try and do this again soon. This has been fun.
It is. It really is. Okay, so top 5. I have to think about this for a bit. Number 1, let's go with number 1 because I think you need to say what it is because that's more. Yeah.
It's not close.
Yeah.
It's really not close for me. I love Nintendo games, but Zelda's like here and everything else is like here.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
Yep.
um, Zelda, absolute number one. So,
Hands down for me too, Zelda by far. Especially Breath of the Wild for me brought it to a whole new level. I think honestly probably Zelda was still number one before Breath of the Wild, but then Breath of the Wild just, man, I love that game. So okay, so now my second favorite IP from Nintendo, and I think it would be for you as well, but I'm not 100% certain, would be Super Mario.
I would agree. Yeah.
They've had so many freaking good games too. That's the only one that might, honestly, before Breath of the Wild could have beaten it because I had played probably more and enjoyed more to a degree the Mario games. Because
Yeah.
and I like the 2D Mario's a lot more than I like the Zelda's 2D games. For me.
Um, I'd probably be on the other side of that,
Okay.
but at the same, the 2D Marios are great.
Yeah.
So it's not a, I can understand that.
Okay, now I don't now for the number 3, 4, and 5. I don't know necessarily where they're placed, but I'm thinking of what other three properties I absolutely love from Nintendo. Do you know? Do you know? Do you have any idea? Do you have any rankings, or do you know what they would be? I can think of at least one other property that would be in my top 5, and that's Mario Party.
Oh, okay. Are we okay? So we're okay. So we're gonna break it down even to that level, eh?
I would, because I don't want to group that with Super Mario, because then Super Mario would be number one. If it included like Mario Kart and Mario Party, like it's not fair at that point.
Okay. My third,
Mine might
Lu
be Mario Party. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
probably Luigi's Mansion.
Really, eh?
I love Luigi's Mansion.
I've only played a little bit of the first one and then the second one that they had on 3DS, and I haven't played the third one yet.
The new one is so good. It's easily my favorite of them.
I'm gonna have to play it at some point. I
Finish
don't
it.
have it. I don't have it, so it would be a good game to get for October. But I already have so many things that I got to play in the next little bit.
It's true.
Okay, so Luigi's Mansion. Um, I think. God, this gets difficult. Probably Pokemon.
Yeah. Okay. Um, my next is probably Paper Mario, if we're counting that as a separate.
Yes, yep, you should. Oh man, I gotta play those games.
They're really hit and miss. Like 64 and Thousand Year Door, phenomenal. The new one is actually really good as well. But there's a color splash I didn't care for. Anyways, I'm not gonna get too into the weeds here.
Do we include Fire Emblem as a Nintendo IP?
Totally.
In that case, Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem beats Mario Party and what else? Pokemon.
I feel like I'm forgetting something big, but
Donkey Kong, Mario Kart, Super Smash. Bleh.
yeah. Um, okay, so I said Paper Mario, Luigi's
Xenoblade's
Mansion,
another one too that like I haven't played enough of. Um,
Super Mario Strikers.
that's so you. That is so you. 100%. That makes sense. Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
so my top three: Zelda, Super Mario, Fire Emblem, and then after that, Mario Party and Pokemon. But I don't know exactly who's number 4 and 5.
Yeah, I think there's an argument that Animal Crossing could bump one of my bottom three ones, but I don't know. Yeah, I knew that was going to be your reaction.
Not
I
worth it.
like it.
No.
So, but again, I don't play Animal Crossing like aside from when it first came out and I played it like a lot of it. It's more of like a jump in, jump out sort of thing, which is why I don't necessarily rate it at the top of my stuff.
Which is good thinking because it's deep down in your heart you know it's not.
So yeah,
Uh,
yeah, but I think that would be my five anyways. What else we got going
I
on in the comments? We
I've
got luck.
I've only played Xenoblade like a handful of times. Like I've never beaten the game. I've never and I own all the games for it. But do I own all the games for it? Yeah, I think I do. I think every Xenoblade except for the 3DS that they had of Xenoblade 1. Xenoblade Chronicles.
Jason's still talking about Witcher 3. Um,
So Xenoblade was. I think that the reason why I freaked out about Xenoblade was because I wanted it to come over to the West, and then what happened was I didn't get a pre-order in right away, so then it skyrocketed in price, and then I was playing other stuff, and I knew that Xenoblade was also a crazy long game, but then I got the last story, which was also part of Project Rainfall. What the hell was it called? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Um,
I don't actually know that personally. I just remember your videos talking about it.
so so I did eventually get myself a Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii. I now have it on the Switch as well, but I haven't played the remake yet. But the last story, that game, that is like if I could, I've wanted you to play that for so long, Kev, and I don't know if did Jason ever play the last story? I don't
I don't
remember
know.
if he has.
Jason.
But the last story is something that I would love to see come back. It was so good, and it's a 25-hour game. It's a 25-hour RPG game. The battle system was so unique. I loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. If that would have had sequels, that could have been like up there for me. And
Yeah.
I think that Xenoblade would be higher for me if I actually beat Xenoblade Chronicles One, Chronicles Two, and Xenoblade X. I think it was called. Was it just Xenoblade X or Xenoblade? It wasn't Xenoblade Chronicles X.
I think it was Chronicles X.
Was it? It was Chronicles X. Huh.
I've never played a Xenoblade game. I'm not sure if they would be up my alley or not.
Didn't you get my I had pre-ordered from Amazon Xenoblade Chronicles X, and they had some kind of a glitch that it went down to like $13. And so because of that, I said you can have my copy, and I just shipped it to your address, and then I bought the collector's edition of that game instead.
I know we talked about it, but if it was ever actually shipped to my house, it never arrived.
Are you serious?
I don't know that I can't say that I remember it ever showing up here.
I 100% know I sent that because I have your address in my Amazon.
Yeah.
I think I sent you like some kind of amiibo at one point for your birthday.
Yeah. You sent me the Bokoblin.
Yes.
One of only two of them that I don't have. I still can't get the other one. Well, I mean, I can if I want to spend a stupid amount of money for
Yeah.
it, which I don't.
Yeah.
I'm just missing Zelda. I have the entire Breath of the Wild set of amiibos otherwise.
That's not too bad. That's pretty
Yeah.
good.
We're re-releasing the Champions ones, by the way, if you have any interest in them.
Amiibos never really did, but they did it so well with Breath of the Wild. That I think that was the game that they actually made amiibos fun and the right way that they should have been.
It's the only amiibos I own are Zelda amiibos. So I've got the Breath of the Wild ones. I've got the little Link's Awakening one.
Yeah.
Toon Link, well, Claymation Link, whatever you want to call him, honestly. And then I've got Wolf Link with Midna on his back
Oh,
from this set.
Jason's asking if I sent him an amiibo. Yes, I did send one, Jason. It just, I guess it got lost in the mail, like the Xenoblade Chronicles X that was supposed to be sent to Kevin. So, sorry about that, bud. I will get you one too. You're the next in line to get a little gift.
Square Enix used to actually own Monolith, and it was the biggest mistake Square ever did because they made Xenogears. Oh, did they make Xenogears? I guess that makes sense. I've never really thought about that.
Yep. Because it's technically in the same realm, I think.
Right.
And that's where the Xeno comes from.
And Xenoblade Chronicles Deluxe Edition now. At some point or another, I may actually pick up the Xenoblade games. Maybe, I don't know, I have that kind of time. These games are long.
I know that's kind of why I played a little bit of it on the Wii, but I was like, it's not, and it doesn't grip me as much as it wasn't gripping me as much as some of the games that I can play for like hours upon hours upon hours, like Zelda Breath of the Wild, Skyrim, those games I just couldn't put down. Whereas this I was able to, but it could have just been because I wasn't hooked on it yet, and that later on I would, which is entirely possible.
Yeah. Some of the some of the footage that I saw, and again, I'm not going to get too into it because I know we're going to talk about it later. some of the footage that I saw for Age of Calamity has actually just kind of driven home some of the things that I know I really want
Yeah.
for Breath of the Wild, because there's some thing, Breath of the Wild 2, because there are some things that they're showing there, and I'm just like, yeah, I get a bit of a vibe here of something, and I just want Breath of the Wild 2. I would
I I, I think
settle
that I
information on Breath of the Wild 2 right now.
I'm so happy though that they gave us Age of Calamity because it holds us over, but it's also something that like I think will even make potentially if they really worked well with them and tried to if they're going to show us some stuff in Age of Calamity that will impact Breath of the Wild 2, then I'm almost happier that we don't have Breath of the Wild 2 this year and that we get Age of Calamity instead because of
I
that.
I
And
mean, yeah.
I was just gonna say, and the fact that you're like, well, we're gonna talk about that another time, and also I've got to get going because I got to get ready. Um,
Cool.
so this was absolutely fun. We definitely have to do this again, and if we can get Jason in here as well and talk about just have a specific Age of Calamity, that'll be the central point that we talk about, and then whatever else has happened at that point, and we'll take obviously questions from the chat because that's kind of also what I love doing is just kind of going over because it just gives you little bits of like here let's talk about this random subject. It's fun.
Totally. Totally, I agree. Legend of Dragoon is also long. Kyle finished that game 100% years ago.
Numerous times. I've played that game so many freaking times and never beat it. And I talk about that game probably more than anything on my channel. It's probably where I get the most views for my channel, which is why I keep doing videos of it. Also because I really want a goddamn remake or a remaster or just so much more Legend of Dragoon. But
The game needs Final Fantasy VII treatment. It needs it, like the remake treatment. I want that more than anything on the PlayStation.
it needs both. It needs to have a re-release where it is done in HD in the sense of Super Mario 64 on the Switch, and also they did it for Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9, where it's still the old versions, but they are just polished to make it look like it's HD. They need to do that for Legend of Dragoon, and then they need to do a full remake, and then a prequel, and then a sequel, and just a whole new series of Legend of Dragoon.
Legend of Dragoon needs its time, like needs its moment. It was not noticed by enough people.
Yeah.
And honestly, you need to play the end of it. How you have played Legend of Dragoon and you have never seen the ending? Like, what the hell?
I've played it on so many. I've played it on. I had, I think, two copies of it on PlayStation 1. I had the regular green greatest hits, and I eventually got myself a black label, and then I sold that eventually. But I had those two versions of it. I borrowed it from a friend before that, and then I just deleted my file at some point. So I played it 3 times when I had it on the PlayStation 1. I eventually got it on the PS3 and played there. I played it on the Vita as well. I've played it so many times and I just never finish it. I'm close. I think I'm further than I was before. I think it's always I get lost at either the end of the third disc or the beginning of the fourth. Not lost, but something happens, and then I'm like, well, it's been so long, so I don't want to go back to that save file, so I restart it, and I just never fall through.
Yeah, totally. I don't know. I'm hoping to be able to get my hands on a PS3 sometime not too long from now, because if I can get back into my PlayStation account on PS3, I still have the digital version on there.
Yeah.
Um, and if I can do that, I might end up streaming the game at some point. I was gonna play it through emulators before, but I didn't want to. I mean,
Yeah.
I had the label disc as well, and I perfectly could use emulators to stream it because I do own the game.
Yeah.
I just would much rather actually play it with like a PlayStation controller on my well, I could still do that on my computer, but anyways.
Yeah.
So either way, at some point or another, that game will get played somewhere on the internet by me. It's the inevitability.
And that could be my way of going back to my save file, watching your stream up until the point where I am, and then I'll just hop on and finish my game from that. Also, Matt, I had no idea that you've been subscribed to me for that long. I actually remember the Alpha Omega. He's not in the video. I think I did a reaction video to that, and he replied to me or something. I feel that because I used to, yeah. I was so surprised when he replied. Like I was super happy with that. I've had that a few times. Near Mint Condition, who I watch for comics, and he has like 25,000 subscribers or something like that. He's replied a few on a few of my videos too, and it's like I'm always like, I'm fanboying at that point. He's like, he watched my video.
I actually have no concept of how long I've been subbed to your channel. It's been a long time because we've been talking in like and doing stuff for like years.
Like I feel like I had a subscriber event at some point in time in either 2012 or 2013 where I did like a live stream and we played video games, and I know I played video games with Jason at that time, and I feel that we were talking by that point as well.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of steamrolled after that because we all talk to each other every day, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And we've never met. How is this possible? You live 4 hours away from me, and like Jason, it makes a bit more sense because he's in the States. But we've made plans to have all three of us, and it's got to happen. Maybe we might have to wait another few years because of everything that's going on for to have all three of us together. But
yeah, that's true. But yeah, it definitely does need to happen at some point. I know at one point I was gonna try and come out your way, but then that got kiboshed because I think as usual, like what gets in the way of all of our plans, my work. I think there was something that happened, and I think I told you the night before that I wasn't able to make it.
Yes, yeah. But I think that there's been another time too where we were trying to get it to work for the summer, and then I think I was canceling for some reason or another at that point too. There's always something that comes up. We're just gonna eventually have to say finally when everything's back to normal, commit to a date and be like, hey, no matter what, we're gonna have to do this. I'm just gonna check this last comment and then I gotta peace out. Remember when I commented on your video in 2015? You were doing a live stream and asked how do you feel about Kingdom Hearts on Final Fantasy 15, so I can have a follow up to that question. I have not played Final Fantasy 15. I have not played the new Kingdom Hearts. I like the I own. I've played Kingdom Hearts. Like I've played some of the Kingdom Hearts games originally. I have not played Final Fantasy 15. I do have it. I'm gonna probably play it on PlayStation 5. And I'll play Kingdom Hearts at some point too. I like Kingdom Hearts, and Final Fantasy 15 looks fun. We did a Halo 3 commentary video. We couldn't hear any voices. Oh yeah, that's true. I did that with Jason too. Okay, I gotta end this because I'll just keep taking I'll just keep taking questions, and I really gotta get going. 15 minutes until she's here. Okay. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. So thank you for joining, everybody. Thank you, Kevin, for being here and co-hosting this with me. And I don't know how to end this. Okay, I do now. All right. Well, you've all been bearded in. Thank you for watching. Kevin, always a pleasure.
Yes.